hands together and give a warm welcome to your host, Dr. Haifa Maamar, who is our Executive Director of Emerging Technologies. And we have our second host, Dr. Heather Dartez, Education Director of Graduate Studies.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Tech Tuesday Taking Flight Hall of Fame Special Edition. We're so happy to have you here today. So today we are here live at Full Sail University in the auditorium in 3B. For those of you who can still come, please come. And then we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Heather, today we are talking about spatial computing and the multifaceted impact of how spatial computing is impacting all these different industries. And we have an amazing panel with us today. We try to choose them so that we can give you experiences and insights into how spatial computing is used in different industries.
Yeah, I'm very excited about today's session.
I am as well.
I'm also happy it's Hall of Fame. Are you guys excited? It's Hall of Fame week?
Woohoo! Yeah. More excitement, maybe? Woohoo!
So it is my favorite time of the year, and we have some amazing guests today. And I love this topic because we get to approach it not only from the tech angle, but also from the business side. And I think you guys will really be interested in seeing how all these technologies are being used in various sectors of business. So it's really exciting.
Okay.
So let's introduce our guests.
So the first panelist will be Dave Dwyer, CEO of Mass Virtual.
And you can welcome David. Next, we have Dorian V., the founder and CTO of Imerza.
Next, we have Gary Hoyt, founder and CEO of Imerza.
And of course, we have Patrick Kahn, the founder of Snap Orlando.
Well, welcome all of you. We're really happy to have you with us today here, and it's Hall of Fame, so it's a big deal for us. It's a Full Sail thing, so many people don't really understand it, but for us it's an exciting time. So we're very happy and grateful for your time today to spend some time with us and to share your insight on how spatial computing is used in various industries today. So if we can quickly take 30 seconds, if you can quickly introduce yourself, and then talk about what your company does. 30 seconds. Dave, start.
Sure, thanks. Dave Dwyer, once again, Chief Operations Officer at Mass Virtual. So we provide human performance solutions using XR technology, primarily in the defense space, but as of about 2 months ago, we landed our first commercial contract, so kind of branching out into that. That's about it from the 30 seconds. I'll keep it there.
Cool, thank you.
I'm Dorian V., co-founder, CTO of Imerza. Imerza is a technology company dealing with immersive tech as it relates to real estate development, both on the marketing side of things, but also in the design and development and digital twin side of things.
Thank you.
I'm Gary Hoyt. I am a co-founder also with Dorian for Imerza, and also an architect and the founder of Hoyt Architects. Thank you.
Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick Kahn. I'm the founder of Snap Orlando. And the reason why I'm here today is because through Snap Orlando, which is an art organization, we started a project which is an augmented reality public art project called City Unseen. So we will share a little bit of what this project is about later.
Yeah, very exciting. And I love that we have such a diverse group, and I love that you have the artistic side of, all of them have an artistic side of them. But I love that we're able to use these technologies in so many different ways, to help different people in different aspects. So,
yeah. So we keep hearing about spatial computing, and I mean, maybe the word is new, especially came out with the Apple Vision Pro, that now you see a whole new use of spatial computing as a word. But the technology exists. It's been existing for a long time. And it's really the XR, VR, ER, immersive technology, and so on. Dave, I look at you since I mean, we have, as Heather said, the arts and tech and so on, but I will start with you if you can define spatial computing for our audience, and maybe give an example of how spatial computing is used in your industry or at your company.
Yep, absolutely. So spatial computing, as we've all been hearing lately, it's the next generation of human-computer or human-machine interface, right? So we've heard AR, VR, XR for a while. Spatial computing encompasses all of that. And when we talk about the connection between the virtual world and the physical space or the real world, that's really what spatial computing bridges that gap. So for us, for example, we're developing training solutions that increase human performance. So it's that connection between what they do in the virtual world to how they perform out in the real world, whether that be working on an aircraft, working on a vehicle, or in a manufacturing facility, anything like that.
Great.
From our perspective, spatial computing really has to do anything to do with 3D-centric design as it relates to real-world space and dimension. Whether that's directly attached to hardware or desktop experiences. A real-world example of that, if we can pull it up on screen here, here in Lake Nona, the Wave Hotel, which happens to be the nicest hotel in Orlando, I think. But
can we have the images on the screen, please?
Yeah, this hotel was entirely designed in VR first before they built anything. And if you cycle through some of these images, we have a shot of a render from the real-time environment on the left and a photo from it on the right. It is identical down to every piece of artwork. It was a bit of a Twilight Zone moment walking in there for the first time after it was built for me. But this is a great local example, if you want to check it out, how spatial computing and the tech that drives it deals directly with real-world environments.
I love it. I didn't know that you guys worked on the Wave Hotel. So when we were talking about it this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, it is one of my favorite hotels. And the design is so impressive. And I was really happy to know that spatial computing was used specifically for that, to give that user experience to everyone before starting and building, and just so everyone can feel it first.
Yeah, and actually that was just part of the overall project, which was an ongoing, evolving digital twin of the entire Lake Nona town center.
Yes, okay.
It's really incredible what you guys are doing. So could you tell us a little bit about how spatial computing is actually leading to a whole evolution within the construction and building process?
Sure. Yeah. So in our world, it really starts at the concept phase and building what are these to be future real world environments and getting everybody really seeing the same thing and on the same page. Then these environments move throughout the entire design process, many revisions back and forth. And then into marketing, and then post-operations. The image up on screen right now is about a 500 square kilometer city being built in Saudi Arabia right now, just south of Riyadh, where we have literally built the entire city in Unreal Engine, and using spatial computing, they are detailing every aspect of the design. Multiple theme parks, multiple residential areas. And in addition to that, what's really interesting about it, nearly every inch of public space is then also enhanced with augmented reality experiences.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And actually, Imerza came out of the architecture firm when we actually were looking at different ways of making all of that interaction work technically. Mm-hmm. And as real-time really started to come around and the different softwares available, we decided to launch a tech company that could really explore it. Kadea is a really good example of that, and it really is a major collaborative force. And it brings together a wide range, a large number of team members that for the first time actually see the same project. That in the architecture and construction field has never really happened. And this is the first time that you have many different individuals actually seeing the same project. We refer to the digital twin model as a living, breathing model actually internally.
Yeah, and not just from the design side as well, from the marketing side, all of the animation, all of the promotional materials are all coming out of that initial game engine model. And then they're able to test all their gameplay elements in there, all of the augmented reality enhancements that they're doing. They can test in the actual virtual environment before applying it to the real thing.
So here I'm going to go off script because when you say all these things, so probably there is way more technology that's being used in that spatial computing experience that you're building. We're probably talking different sensors, the artificial intelligence. I mean, yes, you mentioned the digital twin and so on. So it's kind of like a smart city.
Very much so. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Definitely one of the smartest cities being built today. And that goes everything from IoT and the planning and the design and simulation side of things. We've got technology in there to simulate traffic, pedestrian traffic, vehicular traffic, but then also on the tech side, actually implementing the experiential tech in the project itself. There's more LED and projection mapping and tech in this project than I have seen in any project ever.
Wow.
It is
really incredible.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and really all designed with that user experience first, and making it a really exciting, intriguing place to both visit, learn, and then hopefully come back to.
Perfect. So, Dave, spatial computing, I would say the obvious use case is always training and simulation. Can you talk more about what Mass Virtual is doing using spatial computing, and how are you enhancing those training programs and making sure that you have skill development across the industries that you're doing?
Sure, absolutely. So we've been in the simulation and training space for about 15 years now. So we started the company in 2009, and started with computer-based learning and all that stuff, and naturally has migrated into the spatial computing space. So over the last 3 years, we've really seen it take off for what we've got. So
we have a video, right?
Yeah, you should. Yep, you should have a video playing of some of our Air Force folks and some other projects we've done. So with with spatial computing, whether it's virtual reality, augmented reality, it's not just, hey, here's a screwdriver, here's a hammer, and giving you basic functionality of it. We're doing complex things like removing and replacing engines on an aircraft, or we're learning about electrical flows on an electric vehicle, things of that nature. So when you talk about being able to certify somebody on a complex procedure, whether that's a load master on a C-5 aircraft, if any of you are familiar with that, it's a big cargo airplane. When you can certify them in the digital world before they ever go and touch the physical asset, that speaks to the empowerment and the engagement you get in the learning aspects. And I know we have an ROI question coming up later, so I'll save some of the stats when we get to that.
Yeah, I think we didn't have the video playing, so I want to make sure that I give you that opportunity to play the video quick, and maybe you can. There you go. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah. So what you're seeing here is just some of the examples of I mentioned flows and training procedures, but one of the things that we illustrate is the collaborative learning space. We're really good at individual training, but what spatial computing brings to the table is when you have to work with 6 people to do a simultaneous operation, like jacking an aircraft, for example. You guys can communicate, we can get everything out of the way in the virtual space before you ever go to the physical world, and that saves time, and you have second and third order effects of that savings of time, because that's the one thing you're trying to buy back is time, right? So when you have this fully immersive environment that's allowing you to operate like you would in the real world, it really puts you ahead. So hopefully I filled the time on the video.
Good job.
So I remember when we toured Mass Virtual, I was very impressed with the quality of realism, really, that we feel from all the trainings that we were providing. We work in the emerging tech industry, and we've seen so many different trainings and experiences that are available right there. But the realism that you have was very impressive to me. And then having all the I would call it, from the gaming perspective, the multiplayer. So different people, many people going through this training together, collaborating together, was impressive there.
Absolutely, yeah. We spent the last probably 8 or 9 years perfecting our trade craft. So when you're talking about the degree programs you have here at Full Sail, what you learn there gets you a great start into what we're doing from a production philosophy within Mass Virtual. But it's all about honing the trade craft, because everyone's like, hey, what makes it different or what makes it better? And there isn't one thing you can point to that just says, oh, if you make the 3D models, this many polygons, it's going to look great and it's going to be immersive. It's the total encompassing experience, from design to art creation to how the code works, and how you interact with that to make you really get that suspension of disbelief. So,
Love it.
Yeah, so consumer experiences are changing now because of augmented reality and virtual reality. And Patrick, I would love for you to share a little bit about how this is creating new opportunities for creators. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is I had kind of like an awakening in 2018, and I was thinking about the rave and the rage of Pokemon Go. And I was thinking, all these people are mixing reality now between digital and the real world with this interesting character. And what about if we do something like this with art? So we started this project called City Unseen in 2018. And people were having a hard time at the beginning to kind of adapt to this, because it's kind of like a new way to see art. But little by little, what we wanted to do, and the concept was to bring tourism that doesn't really come to Orlando necessarily because they're stuck in the amusement park. And Orlando is kind of suffering from it. So, all these different arts organizations are trying to put together like special shows or festivals, but those are temporary. And so City Unseen is really a public art / museum that can be seen 24/7 at any time of the day and night through an app that we developed. So little by little, we created something that was more like downtown centric, and we are enlarging the footprint year after year to hopefully in 2026 have 25 different installations throughout the whole city. We're hoping to have one at Full Sail maybe. So what the good thing about this project is that it is site specific, so people need to go onto that place in order to experience it. And that brings the economy to that specific place. We are strategically placing our experiences next to, Dr. Phillips or Sam Flack's art store, businesses, restaurants, so that people can, when they come to Orlando, they see this project, but they can also experience the rest of what Orlando is offering. So the video that I'm going to be showing, if I have time, do I have like a minute?
Oh, yeah, of course you do.
Okay. So there's a few things that are really interesting with this project. One of them is that we have rebuilt 3 murals in Orlando in augmented reality. And what happened is all 3 of those murals were decommissioned for a variety of reasons. One of them was because the building had to be renewed. And so the building owner contacted us and said, can you just bring this in augmented reality? Well, actually, all right, so this is one of them playing right there. This is a second one right there that was right behind our gallery, and this mural was there, but now we have it in 3D augmented reality. And this particular one, can you stop the screen just on a second? Are you able to or not? No, okay. Yes, okay, good. So this project was really interesting because it was more of an activism project. And what happened is this artist named JR did the tour of America with this truck, which was a photo truck. And he goes from community to community to take pictures of a representation of the community. So whoever shows up at the truck, they get their photo taken. It goes on the wall directly. And so for this particular mural, we partner with them. And it was done for the DACA students. It was to show that the DACA students are part of the fabric of the community. So we had all kinds of different people on that mural, including the mayor and some commissioners and things like that. The owner of the building gave us 6 weeks to put to have the mural up, and then said after 6 weeks you need to take it down, which was absolutely fine. And then the community was like, oh, the mural's down. So what happened is we brought it back in augmented reality, but this time, instead of being just a flat mural that people did not understand, we had 3 DACA students that were shot in video and were part of that mural. So when people see the mural, all of a sudden they have a video, and those DACA students are talking about their story. Very short, 30 seconds, but at least the mural now, people understand the value of this mural, so you can play it.
Right. We can go ahead and play it.
Yeah. And so this one was a partnership with the Science Center. So we're showing this off-site from the Science Center, but they had the Pompeii exhibition, and at the entrance of the Science Center, we recreated a whole Pompeii environment. This one is different. So
that is
just
so
to give you a
cool.
few things.
I just love it. I love it. It brings everything to life, you know? It's really
That's
cool.
the idea.
And Patrick, I know you had a different video as well. Did you want us to play that video as
Yes,
well?
yes. So this is really interesting. So still under the, let's not play it yet. Still under the umbrella of the City Unseen, we partner with a French group which is world-renowned. Their name is Adrien and Claire. And they actually mix augmented reality with a little bit of AI. What is wonderful about those posters, so basically you put 10 posters in 3 different places. So we decided to use downtown Orlando, Creative Village, Lake Nona. Lake Nona and Creative Village was for 3 months. Downtown Orlando, we negotiated to be a whole year because we wanted people to experience it. So unfortunately, the Lake Nona and Creative Village just went down, but the downtown Orlando was still with the 10 posters are alive and well. So what is really interesting with this poster is when you activate it, you see the little feature, move, the sound. But what is really incredible, it's kind of like a window. It's almost like a portal, where if you go to the left or to the right, you see the horizon that you don't see on the poster. Oh. So you'll see a little bit of that imagery now.
Okay, let's play.
I guess. I don't know if that was the right clip, but it doesn't matter. It gives you an idea.
Okay. Well, thank you, Patrick.
Very cool.
Okay, so when we're talking about different, the use of spatial computing or any technology that we use in all these different industries and experiences and so on, it's never seamless, or like it's never that easy, I would say. And we always have challenges. Just to adapt the technology in here, specifically spatial computing, to the experience that we're trying to build or to the training. And of course, part of developing is really trying to figure out solutions to these challenges. So if you all can just quickly explain some of the key challenges that you experienced while integrating spatial computing in your experience, and how did you overcome these challenges?
So I guess I'll start. So from the perspective of spatial computing, right? It's if you're playing a video game and you don't like the game, what do? You change the game, you go on to the next one, right? When we're talking about immersing yourself in a headset, whether it be augmented, whether it be virtual, or whatever is going to be next with like the Apple Vision Pro, when you're getting into those environments, you really are looking for that suspension of disbelief, but it can have physical impacts on the users that you're designing for. So, what we pride ourselves on at Mass Virtual is that what we're designing, all of our, whether it's our art team, whether it's the code team, whether it's the design team, we're building experiences that really matter and that you're not going to have any physical impacts, when you get out of it. So, whether you're looking to, and I lost my whole train of thought there, so it's all good, but we're going with it. We're going with it. So,
it's fine.
It's really, you got to take it upon yourselves to design something that matters, put you in that world, and like I said earlier, whether we're looking at colors, frame rate, you can always point to all those things for metrics, but it's really about experiencing it and developing it and taking that.
The content itself, that's very important.
The content is king, regardless of what the hardware is, because the hardware is only going to get smaller, faster, and better. And content is king as we go. You wouldn't have had the adoption of the smartphone without apps, right? What would have been the difference of a phone versus a flip phone at that point? So I think you guys got some stuff to add there.
Yeah, happy to jump in there. So everything that we do in our world, at the core of it really comes down to decision making and recreating these environments to really convey the same emotional impact as you would have in the real world. It's just a hard thing to do. We often get asked, why doesn't everybody do this? Well, it's just hard. As you were mentioning, it takes a lot of different disciplines to put this together, from architects to artists to tech artists, programmers, network specialists, cloud specialists to deploy things. These are really challenging things to put together. And the impact, though, is really profound. When you can step into a virtual environment as if you were in the real world and make the same decisions, and your brain makes the same decisions as if you were in the real world. You might want to expand on that a bit.
Yeah, we refer to it as visual decision making, because what's happening is as these models, as these digital twins start to get elevated, we have two different things. We have the content that we're creating, which we're always trying to achieve a strong emotional connection to the model we're creating, because at that point you're starting to activate your brain, you're starting to activate certain parts of your brain. It becomes a neural connection to a design or a decision that you need to make. But because this is so well understood and you are registering very deep, historically, when we would do large complex projects, urban design projects, or even large complicated building projects, it was very difficult to get all team members, and this is a wide range, this could be from public to private sector, to see the same project. What we found with this approach is that everyone sees the same project. That's a first.
Yeah, we
really never
jokingly call it the dog watching television, because you're in a room and you never know what somebody really sees.
Yeah, Dorian and I would leave a meeting, and we would know back before that we're not sure everyone, even half the people in the meeting, truly understood what they're looking at, because they're looking at abstracted information in the forms of drawings, tables. And what we're doing is the tabular and the drawings all of a sudden become visual. And so all of a sudden you have now an opportunity to make very complex decisions, because you have a very accurate and immersive three-dimensional experience. So whether it's a city, you may be looking at it from the sky, but 10 seconds later, you may be inside and looking literally at a bolt. That is a tremendous scale shift to be able to understand. But boy, does that tell a story, and does it really unify everybody who's in a meeting or who is in any position of making a decision.
And if we've got another minute to touch on some more of the challenges involved, we were fortunate enough to be involved in a project with Facebook/Oculus/Meta for a global heritage archive, where I partnered with the group SciArc out of California. They're photogrammetry scanning global heritage sites all over the world. And these are sites really that some of them were getting destroyed. There was an archival aspect to it, and the tech involved to do this, everything from human on the ground photogrammetry, drone photogrammetry, then bringing that in, the optimization pipeline for that took tech that didn't exist yet that we authored with the Facebook team, and then getting that to run on ARM hardware when we're talking massive photogrammetry models and VR devices that have 512 gigs of storage, and just one of these models is 2 gigs. It's not a thing most people would want to download. So how do we then stream all of this 3D data into the environment and have the thing still run? Just a massive engineering challenge. And these are fun problems to solve. This is what wakes us up every day.
Yeah, we'll also
Totally relate to that.
When it gets complicated, you maybe understand. It's sometimes when you're walking around and it's a very challenging day, like deadlines and just a lot of work, we'll walk around the office and say, oh, by the way, this is the fun part. and it is really, it's very exciting to do. Yeah. And everyone who's there, they get what that's all about. And we're saying that is the fun part of what we're doing, even though, as Dorian said earlier, it's work. It's real work, and it's quite rigorous.
You know, Gary, just to go back to what you said earlier about having everyone in a meeting understand and have the same view of what you're presenting is really big. But even imagine now, I know that you're doing urban planning for cities. So not only you have the stakeholders now having that view, but you can have a whole community engagement. Now the people are really understanding what that city is going to look like. They can visualize it. They can project themselves into that instead of, yeah, maybe this is how look right now, or like I would say a couple of years ago, we're just imagining, and everyone is having their own perception of how things are going to be, which is not necessarily what
you really
the
hit the
company
nail
or the
on the
designer
head.
or the architect.
Yeah, that's happening.
That's happening
That
right
feedback
now.
loop is starting.
We were involved in a project in Atlanta, just north of the old Braves Stadium. When news started to come out about that project, the entire neighborhood there came out with pitchforks fighting the project. It was the worst thing that's ever going to happen. And based on the Unreal Engine model and the VR model, and allowing these residents and other stakeholders to really experience the project for what our client's vision was, it completely got them to the other side of the fence. They started as the biggest opponents and became the largest proponents of the project.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Just wanted to add a little something with the art on this conversation. What is really interesting also is I know some of my artist friends who have used geolocation in order to place art in places where they're not. So as an example, as an art activist, let's say you want to put something right in front of the White House, everybody who has the app and can see that element on location, even though the artist is in Los Angeles, and just sending that artwork over there, then people can experience it in a different place.
Yes, like the portals.
Exactly, like a portal.
Really cool.
And there's also right now, there's been a portal from Lithuania to Poland back 3 years ago, and I think right now there's one in New York City to Dublin. And so basically what it is, it's a huge sphere. I mean, not sphere, but it's flat. But people from the different countries can see each other in real time and interact. By the way, there was... You know about what happened yesterday?
Yes. Yeah, people are using those portals for the wrong reasons. They're getting in trouble.
A little bit of flashing.
Yeah. So one question I have for you guys is, how do we, like from a business perspective, how do we measure a return on an investment in this arena?
So everybody's looking this way. Yeah,
Go for it.
I know you have numbers. We love data.
We definitely have numbers in defense, right? Because we're tracking everything from simulations. So I'll start with a commercial study. PricewaterhouseCoopers came out with a study last year sometime. They were talking about 41% of all all mid to large companies already had a XR strategy at the time. Now, obviously, we'll change it to spatial computing from the new terminology. And of those 41%, half of those had at least implemented in one of their business lines. So it's here, it's rolling. So when we talk about it, though, their study also mentioned about 4x more engagement with their learners than they are in a traditional classroom setting, right? And when we talk about what we've deployed, so we've deployed over 300 projects in the last 2.5, 3 years across the globe, 83 different locations, and we're running about 31,000 students through our curriculum a year. And with that, we're seeing similar numbers. So we've had a 45% reduction in in classroom training time, because you're training to task, not to time any longer. Okay. So it's got second and third order effects. Not only are you seeing faster throughput in the training classroom, you don't have to pay for the hotels for people to be in classrooms. And I think the most important thing, because if you're not having a human performance impact on the backside for us, for training curriculum, then what's the purpose of developing some content? So what we see from that is that the learner retention rate is sky high. As the PricewaterhouseCoopers statement, they said about 3x return. We're seeing 2.5 or so. But what you're seeing is when they go out to the physical environment that they've been trained on, is they're getting it first time right the first time. So that's been a tripling.
That's amazing.
So
Oh, wow.
it's definitely correlating from the virtual to the physical world.
That's great.
In our world, the marketing and public user experience side of things is fairly easily tracked with user engagement and that side of things. But the earlier project phases are actually a lot more abstract, and I think it's really going to take companies looking a bit more holistically and globally at the company, how they actually measure ROI, because some of the decisions that are happening, these are sometimes million, multi-million, sometimes even billion-dollar decisions that are getting made using these tools. And if you've got a group of engineers looking at something and they catch an issue because of that model that potentially saved tens of millions of dollars in error and rebuilding things, that's something that it's really hard to track, but you really need to. And I think that's going to take a holistic shift.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a big change in terms of how the process is actually delivered, whether it's a small project that involves just a few people or even, like Dorian said, very, very large projects. And what starts to come out is all the information that has historically been in drawing form or tabular form, which may be if we do even a traffic study, or you're getting information from engineers in some form, that information, I mean, historically what happened, if we just take a quick step back, in history is math and formulas and tables and all this were created to create an abstraction of reality. And really what we're doing is we're coming back to something that everything becomes an empirical decision, because instead of becoming something that's a drawing that represents something else, you're looking at that thing, only it has a backup of the ability to study it analytically. If you have the data in the model, as part of that, it's built inside of it, that means what you need to do is query that model, and that model has it in there. And it may be passive, or it may be static, or it might be active, like people moving, air, temperature, sun, vehicles moving. All that becomes this, as we refer to it, we call it an urban analog, because we're creating sort of an analog of what the city is, but you can also go anywhere you want. We often say when we fly around it, we say it's like we're in a drone, and we can go anywhere we want, or we can get really small and get inside something if it's in there. So it's this way of deep diving into these very complex environments, whether it's something that's very small or if it's something the size of a city. So for a business, the implications are that now you have this tool that is basically, this is the kind of that holy grail kind of a thing, that you can constantly tap, and it evolves, and you can change it. But and it can evolve out in different directions. You might even be studying more than one direction and more than one solution at the same time to prefer which one that you want to go with. So it is incredibly flexible. It is highly rigorous. And to go into the prior comment, the quality of the content, what you guys are all working on, right? That's really truly a big deal. Okay. You want to get it right, but then as you change it, it'll evolve, because things, God knows, things always change. And I think that's part of the exciting thing of working with something that's so central to very important decisions being made.
Yeah, that's great. So what business advice do you guys have for people? Like for businesses that are looking to expand in this area and use these technologies, what advice do you have for them?
Start now. I mean, seriously,
wait.
obviously, when you see the demographics here, we're a little bit of the older generation, and I do think that the new generation is already completely computed. And so it is going to be like
old.
I'm sorry?
I'm not that old.
I was talking about the panel. Just the panel. Anyway, so, obviously, everybody has been already completely educated within this digital world. I look at my kids and some people's grandkids, and we don't need to teach them anything. My daughter is now teaching me what to do. even though I've been in the business for like 15 years. So, you know, I think that it is something for the future, and it's going to move forward.
Yeah, and in my opinion, businesses really can't afford to wait any longer. That paradigm shift really is changing, and these real-time interactive models are really the foundation for an array of different experiences, whether that's like we've been talking about in the design phase, but then into filmmaking, game making. The project actually in Saudi that we had mentioned, all of these elements are coming together in the same project, partnered with really well-known anime brands, partnered with game brands, and at the heart of it is this interactive digital twin. And that is
experience, yeah, the spatial computing and the immersive experience.
So I think, there's no doubt about it. It's here, right? It's not going anywhere. But I think from a business aspect, you've got to look at the make versus buy decision, right? As you're evaluating it, because there's been companies like us up here doing it for a while. We've gotten the kinks, so to speak, worked out, and we've honed the tradecraft. And it's really about finding that right fit for what you're looking to achieve with your spatial learning or with your spatial computing solution. And finding the right partner that'll work with you from a business aspect and has your same values and all that.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah, you can't afford to wait, but whether you take that initiative on yourself as a business or partner with other companies to provide it for you.
Yeah, I've been around, like a couple of us have been. And years ago, we started a small software company in the late 80s, early 90s. And we were one of the first third-party software developers for Autodesk, which has become a really large company now. At the time, it was the smallest, because there were Intergraph and these other companies at the time. And paper and pencil drafting was how you did things. So in one person's career, boy, talk about resistance. Mm-hmm. At least things are digital now. So you're going from one digital form to a different digital form. The pushback, it's hard to overstate the pushback. And it was seen as a production tool, not a design tool. We really got into it because we saw it as a design tool. And we would go and talk to firms because we had a training component back in those days because no one knew it. That kind of touches on what you're talking. How do you learn about it? And you'd go in and there were people that said, we've thought about it and we decided we're not going to do CAD. And we go, this is not an if question. This is a when question. And I think that's kind of where we are again. I don't feel it's the pushback because we're already kind of in that digital world anyway, and it's in a lot of other forms and games and everything else. So maybe it'll be easier, but we are stepping into this very complex world where before it was fairly similar, simple vector commands. Now you have this incredible array of powerful tools that need to be, you need to become informed about.
Thank you. One thing was mentioned earlier, I think, by you, Dorian, is that all the skills that are needed to build, and Dave, you did as well, all the skills that are needed to build spatial computing experiences or immersive experiences. For our students here, we have a variety of programs, a variety of profiles, a variety of skills that are being taught here. But I want you to just maybe quickly explain to them that this is not just for emerging technologies or for art, like it's really, we need all the different
that's
programs
that's very much the case.
Professional.
Yeah, so on a daily basis, we're blending game engine tech with web tech, with cloud tech, with hardware even. Another project we're working on right now that I can't say anything about, but we're engineering actuators and doing real hardware engineering that then talks to the game engine, that's then driven by the game engine and controlled by native iOS things. So there's really a ton of different specialties required for this, and it's endless job opportunity, really.
And then Dave, I know that Mass Virtual actually, they hired several of our full-sail graduates. And we had Tech Tuesday episode a couple of months ago, and we had a recording arts, an audio engineer, so a graduate from recording arts, who's working right now with you in Mass Virtual. So it is really a variety of other, not only emerging tech, it's the arts, it's the audio, it's the graphics, it's all of it.
Video editors across, yeah.
Yeah, video editing,
really.
exactly, yeah. And of course, emerging technologies.
And of course,
That's
and of course.
So I want to be respectful of the time here, and I want to make sure that I'm giving the opportunity for everyone here to ask questions, and as our online audience as well. So we'll start with
if you guys have
here.
any questions, if you could come up here and say your name, the degree program that you're in, and then ask your question. And if you could direct it towards one person on the panel, that would be great.
I can start. Hi, my name is Jaden White. I'm a game development student at Full Sail. And my question was, it's really for the whole panel, but how do you feel about augmented reality working with NFTs? And also, do you feel like smart cities will ever integrate NFTs into them?
Specifically NFTs or immersion tech in itself? I think
I think blockchain, NFTs.
Yeah, I think the blockchain tech itself is interesting in identifying ownership of things, more so from, at least on the digital twin side of things.
Exactly.
You can attach a thing to an array of assets. Everything needs a UUID, essentially. And being able to leverage blockchain tech in that sense, I think is pretty interesting.
And then what was the second question again?
Well, the second question was, how do you feel about smart cities integrating NFTs into them? Like I'm just thinking about if you have a certain NFT, maybe it'll give you access to like a certain building or a club, but if you don't have it, then it wouldn't let you in.
Yeah, I haven't seen that implemented yet, but definitely in the sense of enhancing experience and like augmented reality experience, I could see that being utilized.
I actually would look at blockchain as a cybersecurity aspect of it. It's how are you going to protect everything for that smart city? When it comes to NFT, it's a single ID, it's a single identification that you will be using. So you're not really going to be sharing that or using that to access a building in a smart city versus having it more the blockchain aspect of it, of to secure everything from a smart city. Smart city, you have different IoTs, artificial intelligence, everything that is making it as an entry point to that city. So securing that and having a cybersecurity strategy on top of that is very important. And this is how blockchain can be used with cybersecurity there to protect the city.
Okay.
I think you're raising, though, a really interesting point. I mean, the idea when you have that much information contained in one model is a huge amount of information. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do have these internal conversations, too. And so the idea of security within that model is not...
It is.
That is a huge subject.
It is a huge subject. Of course it is.
We've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned the whole cybersecurity aspect of it, yes.
Hi, a question to Mr. Hoyt and Mr. V. I was inspired by this idea of a whole city planned in a virtual reality. What criteria do you set to understand whether a city needs to be planned like this? Where it needs to be planned? How do you define the need of planning it in an immersive environment?
I think there's really only one criteria, and honestly, it applies to all design. Is if it's going to exist in the real world, and you need to see it, you need to be able to see it beforehand, and how that programmatically gets applied, I guess, really depends on the specific development itself. A lot of it obviously comes down to funding, and some of it comes down to the scale of the project. So
Yeah, I will say it's interesting when we first started. We tried to figure out, because when this first came about, our competition visually were games. Now games, you got hundreds and hundreds of people, you've got time, and it's one game. We were given projects where we had 3 months, and they're like, we used to kid around when we first started, it's like 2 guys in a truck, and so we have to figure this out, and now it's quite a bit bigger than that, but it is still a different scale. But I'll say on the architectural side, we test this all the time, and we do like to test it. I would agree exactly with Dorian, that we've not found any project that's too small to do it.
Right.
Because of its long-term use. And I think that's what really comes out of it, the long-term value of what you're doing, because no one ever thinks they're going to make a change. Well, the reality is you always make changes. And it's once you jump in, and get good at the craft, because again, it's a craft that we're really creating here. Then learn the craft and be willing to try it on anything, and be experimental, and just always jump in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, yeah, I'm a game development student here, about to graduate pretty soon, and I just wanted to ask, how do you guys integrate like the game development aspect? Because obviously, guys, you're using Unreal Engine. What does that look like in the workflow of your guys' design process?
Excellent question.
Yeah, happy to take that. So there's obviously the gameplay programming part of it, but also making, even in our industries, that user experience really enjoyable. There takes a lot of design to pull that off. And typically our process internally, we use Blueprint to rapidly iterate, and once we figure out how we want to do it, then we'll shift stuff into C++.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Which is exactly what we do in game design and game development. We rapidly prototype everything, and then we switch everything to game development in C++.
Sometimes a little bit too much.
Yeah, we want you full sail, and it is, you guys real, you're kind of in the
Thank you
workflow is right there.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesse Brinkley. I'm a computer animation alumni, and I'm actually currently doing some VR architectural visualization. I was kind of curious, when you guys get a project such as the virtual city that you were showing earlier, Dorian, what does kind of that pipeline look like of, okay, from the BIM model, integrating photogrammetry, geolocation, all that stuff? I was kind of just curious about your pipeline for doing
How much time do we have?
Well, sorry if it's a little too broad.
Sort of the company, right?
Yeah, no, it's something that's always evolving. We've written a range of different pipelines for automated, optimized, like BIM asset pipeline, sometimes using Epic's Datasmith pipeline. We actually wrote some code that Epic acquired from us for bringing in data from Autodesk's Forge platform, which kind of drives all of Autodesk's online stuff now. So we really try and automate as much of it as we can, or you just get barreled into hours and hours of manual work. So we really do try to automate as much of it as we can, but then we also have some Houdini pipelines for taking that data, generating other environmental things programmatically around it, setting up gameplay elements, zones, traffic zones, splines, things like that. And then some of the more, in my opinion, some of the more interesting stuff recently is then on the render pipeline for really high res render output. And whether you make a decision, okay, this is going to be something that runs real time, fully interactive, on Quest hardware or whatever the hardware is, or we're going to use the engine to then offline render that same VR experience for like a cinematic thing. The tools to be able to do that now with Lumen and their render queue have totally changed. So we do a bit of the final render side of things as well. And yeah, that pipeline is pretty interesting.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Last question here. Do we have any questions online? I don't know if we're going to have enough time for questions online. I don't know. Yes, we do. Okay.
Right over here to the right.
Okay. Quick question, quick answer. We need to move to at least take 2 questions online.
Hello, I'm a cyber student here at Full Sail. And coming back to cyber, this is just general question, but using spatial computing and it being a fast and emerging tech, how is risk assessed? And is there any common vulnerabilities that come with AR, VR, XR?
Risk of doing the tech or risk like project risk?
Threats, I think what his meaning
Yeah,
is.
so
Threats
we're talking to several companies using, very much interested in using the tech for literally that, for threat assessment, and coming to us to look to novel ways of solving it.
Yeah, we've taken actually tools that we did to do visuals, and we've actually reversed engineered it so we could use it for that. It's really interesting.
And same thing for simulation and training as well. You'll probably have a whole...
Yeah, there's a whole checklist of authority to operate, we call it, within the defense. So you got to go through that, and there's certain hardware is allowed, certain isn't, and then your software's got to meet those specs as well. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions online?
So we have Mohammed who's joining us on LinkedIn. And his question is, how does spatial computing enhance augmented reality and virtual reality applications in terms of user interaction and real-world integration?
You want to take that one? Yeah, so the spatial computing as it relates directly to the hardware. So the advances in the tech, I think, have really opened the possibility of it actually being a thing today. Literally just with the Quest 3 and the Apple Vision Pro, now you can really build experiences that blend real world with virtual world and have that be a truly impactful, meaningful, and really good looking experience.
I mean,
what do you think of Live View by Google?
Say it again?
Live View by Google, what do you think of that?
Oh, I haven't experimented with that one.
All right.
Yeah.
In different cities, there's I think in Tokyo, Paris, New York, and London.
Yeah.
They have this live view where you can just walk around. Obviously, it's better to experience it with glasses.
Yeah.
You can just see different shops and have augmented reality alert you of what those shops are and their ratings and things like that.
Okay.
Wow.
Do we have time for one more, or we're done? One more. Go ahead.
And we have Cassandra who's joining us on YouTube and studying creative writing. She asked, just like with the posters, could AR be used for graphic novels or comics?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, no, it absolutely can.
Of course.
Yeah, we're seeing, we've got a partner of ours in California with who has some AR tech for virtual, like try-on sort of stuff, and they're using it with advertising in that exact same way, where it is hardware installed in locations, screens with cameras pointed at users, and applying really cool effects to the user, almost as a mirror. And yeah, absolutely, you could do that.
So cool.
Well, thank you, all of you, for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for this knowledge, comments, insights, all your experience. We're so grateful. Thank you, all of you, students and faculty who came, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Heather,
yeah, no, I want to
Thank
thank you as well. You guys did an excellent job. I feel like I learned so much today, and it's just really incredible to see where the future is going. And I'm excited to see what opportunities you guys are going to have to work in these areas. So.
And if you have more questions, if we didn't get to your questions, please leave your questions online, whether on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. We'll get to it, or reach out to us directly by email.
Quick thing, just if you want to experience City Unseen, because it's in Orlando as well as phone, go to snaporlando.com, City Unseen, and you'll have all the information, including the map of where the activations are.
I'm going to go all over Orlando now and check them all out.
as well. Well, thank you very much. This is Dr. Haifa Maamar and Dr. Heather Dartez. I hope you guys have a great afternoon.
Thank you.